Welcome to Retro MX Reviews. I'm Mark. Today we're at Ward Creek MX in Raymond, Washington. We do a quick ride impression on the 86 Yamaha YZ125. Now 86 is a pretty important year in American motocross. It was the first year of the production rules. So the factories actually had to run bikes with a stock chassis and mostly stock engine components, center cases, whatnot. So all of a sudden it became really important for production bikes to be the best they could. This really hit probably Honda and Kawasaki the hardest. The Yamaha and Suzuki had been running a lot more production-based things in the years prior. Anyway, so this is a whole new redesign on this bike. The 85, nobody says good things about them. And this bike, I really feel like it's a little bit overlooked because for most people, 1986 means Honda. So with that, we're going to walk around the bike, kind of have a look at it, and then we'll do our ride impression. Alright, well, let's start the walk around here. This is, I think, probably the second year of a front disc, and these forks are still the old school damper rod forks, so no valving, no shims, no nothing like that. It's just springs and rods. We put stiffer fork springs in this one because that was one of the weaknesses in the stock bike, was having really soft forks. This is the K-Street engine. It's the first year of that. And they used basically the same engine design into the 90s. It was a nice, I had an 89 and rode the heck out of it, and it held up to everything. One thing that was really cool about the 86 is the shock. It's an Öhlins. Well, it's an Öhlins partnership. So they used Öhlins technology, licensed it on a Yamaha. And it's pretty trick, and even the rebound, you adjust it by hand. There's just you rotate it instead of using a screwdriver. It's pretty trick. This also had the BASS brake actuated suspension system, and based on everyone's recommendation, I just disconnected it. So I've heard it does nothing but bad things. This year, the bike also still had the Z-spoke in the rear, which kind of surprised me. I didn't realize that lasted that long. This bike has an aftermarket silencer because the original one was just this horrible little steel thing, and I'm glad whoever replaced it did. Moving back up to the engine, it's a drum style power valve, so it turns and it opens and it changes the exhaust port height a little bit. And like I said, they stuck with that until they went to the newer design in, I think, probably the mid-90s. This is the gas tank. It's meant to be a low boy, a works replica or something fancy like that. I don't know. And I think that kind of covers most of the thing. Just walk around to the bike. So let's get a ride impression, and we'll come back and let you know how it feels. car, fresh off the track. Still a little winded, but what really strikes me about that bike is how goofy it doesn't feel. The power is, you know, a little weak by modern 125 standards, but it's got a nice mid-range hit. It's got solid over rev. I'd say you just have a little bit less power to work with in terms, so you're always shifting. Like you're shifting even more than you are on a modern 125. But it's got a nice chunky hit. I mean, it's a really fun engine to ride. The chassis is extremely narrow, and it makes it so easy to curve. And even the tank, you'd think that that tank would push you back, but actually you're in about the right spot. It just looks weird. You have that tank up in front of you, but you don't notice it when you're on the bike. It's a really good layout and really fun. I feel like I probably go faster on that bike than I give myself credit for. Like I said, I upgraded the fork springs, and the shock spring is stiffer too, I can tell. So it's okay. On this track today isn't very choppy yet, so you're not really getting beat that bad with the suspension. It feels pretty good. Back brake's probably the weakest link for me, and I like to come in and brake slide a lot. It's kind of a bad habit of mine, but other than that, no real issues with the bike. The shifting's a little bit notchy. Oh, it's not a little, it's a lot notchy. And I kept hitting a lot of, I'd hit neutral by accident a lot. But Yamahas have always been known for not shifting great. And, you can work around it. It's not a showstopper, but it's definitely noticeable if you're comparing it to a Honda. So all in all, I feel like it's a great little bike that's probably been overlooked a lot by history because the Hondas were so dominant that year, but there's probably a lot of longevity reasons that the Yamaha might be a better choice for vintage racing, because you're not going to deal with the corroding magnesium cases like you are in the Honda, and the cylinder's portable. So overall, a lot of fun to race this bike, and a lot of fun to ride it. I would think it's definitely a good candidate for vintage racing, and as you can see by the video today, it was out there and holding its own against the modern bikes. I'll try to get a lap time comparison against what I'm doing on this versus the 250F, and I'll post that in the comments as well. Alright, thanks for watching episode 2, and we'll see you at the track.